Today on the DML News Podcast, tariffs everywhere is a tariff. Wisconsin goes to the liberals. Republicans in Florida show how it's done, although proxy voting seems to be a big problem in the Republican Party. Lots of stuff to discuss, MS-13 and the Newsmax IPO. Oh my goodness, am I going to be unfiltered.
Dennis Michael Lynch gives you his word, and he will never let you down. He will always fight for America.
The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I'm Dennis Michael Lynch, and I thank you for joining me today. Across from me is my son, Denny. On the controls, my son, Ryan. We come to you here proudly as a family, like we do every single day during the week, and we deliver you all the news, the opinion, the insight that you need in order to be the smartest person, not only in the room, but probably in the world. Everything that we do here pretty much is inspired by our daily newsletter, which is called 47 Report. You could go to 47report.com, put in your email address, know that I'm never going to sell it, never going to share it, but I am going to deliver you the greatest news you could ever imagine for this presidency. Everything that Trump is doing positive, his administration, everything that is going in the way of making America great again is reported. You're not going to get that from anywhere else, including Newsmax, which we'll get to in a second. We give you the information that nobody else is putting out every single morning before 7 a.m. Eastern Time. Then, as a little added extra, because I love you, DML Report comes into your inbox by 5 p.m. every single day, Monday through Saturday. I take Sunday off. Everybody's got to take a little time off, except for Denny, because he has to work 7 days a week to make sure you get the 47 Report. But if you put your email address in at 47report.com, you will start tomorrow getting the greatest newsletter, the highest opened newsletter that we've ever heard of. Industry standard is between 20 to 25% open rate. We're at 65. So that tells you how great the information is. And right here on any one of the live feeds, anybody who gets that newsletter is going to tell you, you can read it. It's the best newsletter there is. That's what we hear all day long. Go to 47report.com, put in your email address, and start being the smartest person you know starting tomorrow morning. Well, at the end of the show, I'm going to talk to you about my wife, as I have every show. Yesterday, we spent a very long day at the Mayo Clinic, and I will get to that, like I said, at the end of the show. But, you know, when you go through things like we're going through as a family and as my wife is going through with her illness, it really helps you put things into perspective. You have an uncanny way of seeing what is important and what is not important. You see where it is that priorities should be placed and not. You also start to see the difference between what is real and what is manufactured. Speaking of manufactured, for some of you who just love to criticize me or just love to criticize in general because it's something fun to do, you'll say that I'm jealous. You'll say that I'm remorseful, that I have seller's remorse. I can tell you, you are not the smartest person in the room if that's what you're saying. I find it so comical. I mean, just absolutely hysterical what is going on right now with the Newsmax IPO. Now, grant you, I didn't get to really sink my teeth into it. I didn't even know that it was doing the IPO on Monday, Newsmax, because I've been so consumed with my wife. But today, you know, in looking at the news after I read the 47 Report, I see Newsmax IPO soars. Like, what? How's that? Is anybody reading up? Am I the only person who knows how this thing operates? So here's a little something. And I may get some of the facts in terms of the timeline incorrectly, but the overall story is perfectly delivered to you. So as many of you know, going back many years ago, 2015, I was approached by the CEO of Newsmax. His name is Chris Ruddy. And Chris Ruddy came to me and said, we'd like to give you your own show, Dennis Michael Lynch. And I had been a guest on various different shows on Newsmax. And every time I went on Newsmax, you know, I was on there talking about my films or whatever. You know, people could email me, blah, 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 blah. I'd never get any response. Like, I'd be like, how can I go on TV and not sell one DVD? How can I go on TV and not get one email It made no sense because if I went on Fox News, my goodness gracious, thousands of DVDs sold, emails with DML, will you speak at this event? Will you speak at that event? I'd get nothing. So when I'm asked if I want a TV show, I say, the problem I have with this invite is that I don't think anybody's watching your network. So I did a little digging and I found out that I was correct. So then I said to myself, well, self, you can be a big shark in a little pool. How about we change things? And so because I've always loved the challenge, I agreed to take the Newsmax deal. And in doing so, I sort of buried myself with Fox News because once you go over to Newsmax, you do not come back to Fox. And I realized this, and I thought my Fox days had run its course anyway. Megan was gone. O'Reilly was out. All the people who basically I was dealing with were no longer there. Roger Ailes was gone. And Chris Ruddy wanted to be the next Roger Ailes. I mean, you want to talk about obsession? There you go. For those of you who don't know Roger Ailes was the person who basically launched Fox News and was responsible for all the programming that you basically see today. Although he's gone and he has died, Fox News has never been the same, as far as I'm concerned, once he left. But he's the one who created what Fox News is today. He's the mastermind. And Ruddy just always had, as far as my opinion goes, always had I don't know how you say it, a Napoleon complex when it came to Fox News. So I decided to go and take the show. And I'm told by the executive vice president of TV, big name for somebody who was not getting a whole lot done, that I was now the tent pole. And they were going to build the entire tent around me. So I got the primetime show, and I started bringing in the viewers. And every single night, from the time I took the desk on night number one, I was number one. There was no close number two. And I stayed there for a while until I started to learn. I learned that Chris Ruddy had donated $1 million, or at least $1 million, to the Clinton Foundation. And I said to myself, whoa, wait a second here. What kind of conservative donates to the Clinton Foundation, let alone $1 million? And the part of that was very confusing to me, was that Chris Ruddy had written a book and did a series of speeches and articles about a guy named Vince Foster. And Vince Foster was the attorney for the Clintons. And this is a guy who had everything going for himself in the world, completely confident, healthy, you name it, decides that, he wants to kill himself. What? So Ruddy wrote books about how that seemed kind of strange, if you know what I'm talking about. And he built a name for himself, railing against the Clintons and what had happened with Vince Foster. Things that make you go, I don't know what happened one day. Maybe it was in the middle of the night. Who knows? But how does somebody go from thinking that the Clintons should be maybe prosecuted to thinking that $1 million donation is in line? How does somebody go from writing books about Vince Foster's mysterious death to writing articles on Newsmax.com saying that Bill Clinton is a swell guy and that Hillary wouldn't make such a bad president? And I'm sitting there saying to myself, I don't know if this is the right place for me. And so after a little while, without getting into too many details, I decided, might not be the place. And I think it was a mutual sort of feeling because it was clear that my sentiment was changing about where I was. And so I was told in a letter that I no longer was able to create my show as I wanted it to be. It had to be done along the lines of the network. And if anybody knows me, you know that I am not going to ever be controlled at that level. And so I said to the executive producer, her vice president, who said that I was the tentpole, I said, it sounds to me like they're trying to get rid of the tent pole and collapse the tent. And I said, there's no way anybody sends me that kind of letter knowing the fact that who I am. That must be, can you please leave? And he said, well, that's how I'd read into it. And then I said, okay, adios. I walked away. Now, I tell you that story because since that happened in 2016, August 9, if I'm not mistaken, I have watched Newsmax try to grow. It's impossible not to. I mean, you only had really two names in town. You have Fox News, and then you just got Newsmax, maybe a little OAN, but they've never gotten out of their own way. And last year, it was no shock to me when I read an article that came across that said that Bloomberg News had discovered that Newsmax had taken in, I think it was $50 million from a Qatari investor, if not Qatar itself. I'm like, Qatar? My God, could we get more terrorism in one place? Wow. Okay. Well, as if that didn't smell bad enough, then Newsmax put out this whole thing where I think it was you can buy one share of Newsmax pre-IPO for I think it was $5,000. And I'm like, whoa, does this sound like a desperate thing to me? So anyway, long story short, I have to give credit where credit is due. Chris Ruddy, the CEO of Newsmax, no matter what he has to do, whether it's through a donation or whether it's through, well, I'll keep that to myself, he will make it work for him. And I have to give him all the congratulations in the world. He actually took his company public on the New York Stock Exchange. God works in mysterious ways because here's how this works. I think the IPO was priced at $10 to $14 per share, which means that on the day it was going to start to trade, it was going to trade at $10 or $14, whatever. And you'd imagine it bounce up a little, bounce down a little, whatever, maybe close at $12. No. Retail investors, just like if you remember GameStop a year or two ago, when that thing, that trashy little mall store, which has absolutely no place to go, went skyrocketed because people were running up the stock. Well, the same thing happened to Newsmax. We are now 3 days in, and yesterday the closing price was $233 per share, making it worth $9 billion, making Chris Ruddy one of the richest men on paper in the United States, and believe this or not, more valuable than Fox News. Now, Newsmax has this many viewers, and Fox has this many viewers. And, Fox gets this many website visits, and Newsmax gets this many website visits. And somehow, some way, it's more valuable than $9 billion. First thing I did this morning is I called the guy who manages my money, and I said, I want to short that stock, which means that you want to bet against it as if it's going to drop. Well, I guess my guy got it too late. He said, Dennis, you sure you really want this in your life with all that you got going on? It's very volatile. I said, it ain't volatile. I know where that thing is going. In my opinion, 2 months from now, it will be $5. So mark that down on your calendar. That's a prediction from me. 2 months from now, it will be $5. And already today, it's down, I think it's down like $75 or $100 or something like that. It's just going to keep on dropping. At the end of the day, the stock market's so screwed up. It really is. It is so screwed up. It is just take a number, throw it against the wall, and see if it sticks. And I just, there are days when you just have to look at what is real versus what is manufactured. That's how I started off with this, and you look at what's going on in our country and you say to yourself, why is this like this? Why is everything so broken? Why do we have to come here onto this show and talk about half the things I'm going to talk about today? And you say, why is that happening? It just seems so stupid. Why would a judge say we need to take back freaking terrorists who were deported? And you just say, is it real or is it fake? And you know what? It's fake. There's no judge that really thinks that there should be terrorists in the United States. It's all a game. It's a total game of power. It's a total game of charades. It's a total game of who can outdo who for how longer than the next guy. Excuse my Long Island accent there. It really gets disappointing because it seems like the people who work really hard and don't cut corners and don't take money from foreign countries that harbor terrorism. I mean, think about the hardworking neighbor you have or the hardworking relative who goes out and works 7 days a week to really create true value and struggles to pay their bills. And then some guy goes out and does an IPO and is worth $9 billion, even though he, in my opinion, can't get out of his own way. It's so manufactured, so made up. All of it is so made up. How the hell did we get here? That's where I come from today. That's where I'm coming from today. Why is somebody like my wife, who is a good human being, I can't think of, and I'm not exaggerating. I swear to God, may he take me now. I don't think I've known my wife since she's 14 years old. I don't think I have ever in 42 years, I'm aging myself, have I ever heard somebody utter one bad word about my wife. I mean, I get a bad word about me every day. I've never heard. Have you ever heard anybody say anything bad about Mom?
Never.
Why is it that my wife is subjected to a wheelchair and can't walk a straight line, and yet some scumbag is out there today from MS-13 and is going to wind up doing God knows what to a little girl for maybe the 50th time this week? How does that work? How does God work? I don't get it sometimes. I pray to him every day. I ask him to give me the understanding of how this thing works, the ebb and flow, and I won't lie. I want to go to heaven. I certainly don't want to die to get there. But at some point, I'm gonna. And I think I've done a good enough job in my life to where I'm going through the pearly gates. And I got to tell you something. When I go up to God and I see him for the first time, I'm not going to ask him when the last time he cut his beard was. I'm not going to ask him how it is that he formed the Grand Canyon. I'm not going to ask why it is that anything else. I'm just going to be like, can you explain to me how the Newsmax IPO was at $233 a share? Can you explain to me why it is that MS-13 gang members are allowed to walk the streets free and clear and good, honest people are sitting in wheelchairs or disabled at home? Can you tell me why the hardworking guy who never misses a day of work, even when he's got the flu, is barely hanging on, and these scumbags like Jeffrey Epstein have billions of dollars at their disposal? Can you explain that to me? Because it was a mysterious thing my entire life, and I'd love to know the answer. Now, the bad news is when God gives me the answer to that, I'm not going to be able to tell you, because I know I'm not the first dude to be asking that question at the pearly gates. And for some reason, God says, here's the answer, but you can't tell anybody. You got to let them down there figure it out on their own. And I can tell you this, we certainly aren't taking the clues. Dennis, you look quite handsome today. Today's tariff day. Big, huge day where it's reciprocal tariffs. You tariff me, I tariff you. What do we think about this? Is this Independence Day? What are they calling it?
Liberation Day.
Liberation Day. I feel liberated.
I hope it sticks. I hope we don't get some kind of rescinding of, but yeah, today's supposed to be the day that, Trump is putting tariffs, to every other nation in the world, and other nations are responding, and they're trying to, take their tariffs away now in reciprocation to what the U.S. is doing.
Well, God bless Trump. if we could all listen, it's a smart play. I've said it's a smart play since day
I
one.
just find it interesting that we were even being tariffed by these countries, considering how many of them we give billions to.
Thank you, Mr. Trump. Makes no sense. They vote against us at the UN, right? So here we go. Let's take this. Let's take my whole opening here, right? Is it real or is it what was that? What was that commercial? Before you were born, there was a commercial for videotapes for taping. Is it real or is it? Damn it, doesn't matter. Is it real or is it manufactured? That's where we're at. So how is it that the United States of America donates, because that's really what it is, we're never going to get the money back. Zelensky says, I'm not giving, this isn't a loan, all the money you gave me, you're not getting it back. So we donate money. We donate our tax money to all these countries who then tariff us, and then on top of that, vote against us in the UN. And every president to date has allowed that to happen. Congress has allowed that to happen. One guy gets in, says, this doesn't make sense to me. That's Donald J. Trump. And because of this, he's a racist.
It's ridiculous. It's honestly
okay.
ridiculous.
That's what I'm saying. How do you make this real? This seems so fake, so out of touch.
I mean, it's a lot of people, even Israel. Israel had tariffs on us and we give them billions of dollars. Why the heck did they have tariffs on us in the first place? Now they're lifting it. You know, Israel, Ukraine, all of them. They need us so badly, and yet they want to slap us with fines and fees and tariffs. It's hopefully, if Trump really is trying to do the short-term pain, long-term gain scenario here, then there should be the benefit in the long run. But I just don't want to hear in a week from now that, oh, you know what, this one said they're going to do this. I'm taking that tariff away. It's all good now.
Actually, this guy Scott D'Amico just put it. It was, is it real or is it Memorex? And it was a great commercial back in the day. Back in the day when things were simple. Now today, forget it. Memorex wouldn't stand a chance. But going back to this whole thing with, I mean, just look at Israel, right? Like you just said, we're protecting these people as if it's my own kid, right? I got to protect Israel like it's my own kid. And here's the thing, you're going to tariff me? You know what this is? Let me tell everybody who's listening to this is going to be able to relate, because everybody has heard this phrase. And of course, I'm going to have the prudists out there. Just close your ears for a second. I'm going to use a profanity, but not in a bad way. It's the word ass. When I was growing up and all through my 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, when you described somebody who was filthy, dirty, rich, you'd say, that dude wipes his ass with $100 bill, right? That was the way of saying that guy has so much money, it doesn't even matter, right? Okay. I think the entire world has been looking at us and saying, dude, that country wipes its ass with $100 bills. Let's just freaking, and they can't find their ass with both hands. Let's just freaking bang them. We're going to bang them. We're going to bang them. And we've just been paying. I mean, that's the one thing we heard about the Treasury. Elon Musk was explaining this the other day on Fox News. Everybody sends in the bills, and the Treasury's like, oh, I got to pay right away. Writing checks and sending them out. And everybody's been taking advantage of it. Ringing the register. Cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. And we just keep on flowing through. Hey, who's on Survivor tonight? Hey, who's winning the Grammys? Did you see the Oscars last night? That's what everybody focuses on. And that's why you wake up and you're like, whoa, wait a second. Where's the American flag in my kid's classroom? You wake up and you're like, who is that person living next door? And why don't they speak English? We're sitting here looking at our country drop into the abyss. We don't understand how it happened. Well, this is how it happened. And Trump, who has had a very successful life at building like sort of an empire, his father gave him a little bit of a start, and then now it's Trump gold all over the place. This guy comes in here and says, hey, look, if there's two guys that you want who have built empires and know what they're doing, it's me and Elon Musk. Why don't you let us be Batman and Robin and fix this whole place, right? We put the bat signal out, Dennis, and they came into Gotham, and now everybody's calling them racists. They want them, they're calling for the death of these people because they're trying to fix the crap that we let metastasize.
And of course, Republicans are super serious, so much so that they decided that the sword they're going to die on yesterday was that if they can't have proxy voting in case Representative so-and-so decides to have a baby during her term, that she needs her 12 weeks to, in order to proxy vote. They have issue with all the government workers who are working from home or maybe actually had maternity leave. But when it comes to Congress, they have to make this such an issue that, as Jukebox asks on Rumble, is there a way to stop these radical judges putting up these ridiculous roadblocks? Yes, we had that chance out yesterday, and Representative Anna Paulina Luna, which it's not even her real name, thinks she's the MAGA firebrand that's going to fight for America, decided, how about I get 8 other Republicans to tank this vote because Mike Johnson won't allow us to proxy vote because, if we have a baby. There are plenty of women out there who have children, and we support that still have to go to work. This is just cementing the idea that serving in Congress is supposed to be a career position. It's not. If you want to have a kid, fantastic. Find someone who could take your place, represent them, and promote them until they win their election, and then go have your kid.
Yeah, the amazing thing, there's so much to say back about what you just put out there. I'm all for family units. In fact, I think that people aren't having enough kids these days. We need to have more children. And you're right. The way the founding fathers created this country was that the doctor, the nurse, the electrician, the whoever would put down their profession for 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, go serve, and then go back to their profession. And what's happened is we've created this career in Washington, D.C. And so now they want to have the best of both worlds. Now, I understand giving maternity leave. Absolutely. I even agree giving maternity leave for a father, because I remember when Ryan was born, he was number 3. Mommy had you running around and Ashley running around, you both little kids, and she's trying to take care of a baby. I mean, I can't tell you how many days I was late for work or couldn't go, and I was my own boss. So I'm totally cool, especially letting the mom recover and having a little help, especially he's got little other kids around, with dad having a little time off. But to your point, is that really what we want to have in Congress? And here's what we've learned with Congress. When you give them an inch, they take a yard.
Yeah.
When you give them a yard, they take a mile.
12 weeks turns to 24 weeks.
And the I'm on maternity leave turns out to be I'm really out of my boat and I'm going to vote from my boat. And then we're going to really create this lazy, laid back sort of I can be in Congress from wherever I want to be. It's the internet era. So you're right. The bigger message here is not about maternity leave. The bigger message here is that the freaking Republicans don't know how to vote together. They don't know how to coalesce. They don't know how to get behind Trump. They only know how to lose. The only Republican who knows how to win is Trump, and he can't do it on his own. And this is why it is that the Democrats, look at this. Look at this for a second. I wrote about this yesterday on the DML report, so I might as well bring it out now, Dennis. Cory Booker, the Democrat senator from New Jersey. The guy is so irrelevant. Nobody cares about him. He tries to make himself relevant. Nobody wants to listen to him. He ran for president in 2020. People don't even remember that he ran for president in 2020. He is so irrelevant. Somehow, some way, though, he keeps on winning his elections in New Jersey. And so he decides that he's going to go up and filibuster. What? What are you filibustering?
No one knows.
No one knows what he was up there. I'm just going to go up there and complain about Trump, Elon Musk, and anything that I can spit out. Now, if you think that man went up and filibustered yesterday for the sake of trying to help Americans and help America, and the one time I said, let me hear what this clown has to say. He was telling the story about how it was that he went on an airplane. I went on an airplane. Every time I go on an airplane, people come up to me and say, hey, are you a professional athlete? And he says, no, I could be, but I didn't. Instead, I wanted to serve people. Yeah, let me tell you something. If Cory Booker was good enough to be a tight end in the NFL, the last thing he's going to do is give it up for Congress. But regardless. And he says, yeah. Yes, I am a member. He goes, and then there's the tough part that always happens. They ask me, when I tell my senator, they ask me if I'm a Democrat or a Republican. And I said to them, ma'am, I'm a Democrat. And the woman said, oh, I wish I would have wore my Trump hat. He says, but I didn't let her throw me for a loop. I stuck in there and it said, we can work together. And so I'm like, oh my God, this guy is trying to run for president. This is what he's trying to do. He's looking to regain his 15 minutes of fame that he had when 2020 came and left and nobody remembered him. And he's trying now to get to his top pinnacle spot in relevancy because the Democrats literally do not have a leader. They don't have a voice. They don't have a message. Think about what's going on right now. AOC, who is as dumb as a donkey's ass, and freaking the mad professor, right, from Vermont, Bernie Sanders, they're going around together, frickin' frack, bringing in 30,000 people per spot, all the radicals. And Cory Booker must look at this and say, you got to be kidding me. Those two? I got to get myself positioned again for president. And now he's going to go, and all he cares about is breaking the record of how long he's going to filibuster for. He doesn't care about what he's talking about. He just wants the record because he's going to be all over Twitter, or I should say X. He's going to be all over social media. They're all going to talk about him on the lefty media, blah, blah, blah. Well, let me tell you something. In 2 days from now, that he's going to be forgotten. But the point being is this. You've got the Democrats right now doing stunts, touring around the country, doing filibusters for 24, 25 hours about absolutely nothing. They are so broken. CNN yesterday put out a new poll. The polling for Democrats, not only nationwide, but in its own party, is the lowest it has ever been. You would think that the Republicans right now would be like Gladiator, and sitting there and saying, now we're going to just dagger them to death. They'll never get anything. That's not what happens. We can't win Wisconsin. We can't win anything. We're fighting about proxy votes. And you just sit there and you say to myself, what happens when Trump is gone? Because it's the only guy in the entire party who knows how to win.
Well, this is where a little bit with disagreeing in here. The Democrats do have a message. It's just not a very good one. Stop Trump. Stop Trump at all costs. And what just happened in Wisconsin will definitely be consequential when it comes to 2026, because we probably, most likely, almost definitely will lose the House. They're going to redistrict. They're going to make sure it's going to be more Democrat representatives. The question is, what's the Republicans' message? Because obviously yesterday they tie up these bills with other things like the proxy voting. You get 9, including Tim Burchett of all freaking people with that annoying accent. They decide to vote in line with the Democrats, knowing it's going to tank the SAVE Act, which would have helped with the election integrity that Trump was trying to pass, and then as well as stopping the radical judges. Speaker Johnson then says, all right, no more voting for the rest of the week. Well, now I have to ask, what's prompting you to do that? You could have had another vote today. You could have had another vote Thursday. You're saying now we have to wait another full week to get a vote on maybe getting Trump's agenda on day 75 here actually started? It's just absurd. I got to be honest. I don't know what the Republican messaging is. How is it that Trump wins Wisconsin, but then all of a sudden the Democrats come out with the huge win of keeping the Supreme Court a liberal majority?
Hey, you know what, Dennis? You
Is it real or is it Memorex? I don't even know what that means, but everyone's have the response. It's just,
is it real or is it Memorex?
I'm serious. The Republicans love to lose.
Yeah.
They really do. I mean, Trump, I can't even group Trump in there because he obviously won and he has to deal with these idiots, but it's like they get in, they have the majority. I mean, the only right move they did so far was take Elise Stefanik back so they can somewhat keep their slim majority. But here we are. Here we are with what the future is probably going to look like.
Dennis, think about what you're saying there for a second. And look, the last thing I want to do is get on this program and start beating up on Trump. But at the end of the day, you can only, I've said this a million times. I just said it to your mother the other day about her whole illness. I said, Mary, you can't control what happens in the world. You can't control anything except for how it is that you react to the environment and to the changes that are taking place in your life. So when somebody does something, you can only control how it is that you react to it. So when you look at the Democrats and what they're doing, ignore them. Let's go back and take a look at our own team. How are we reacting to things? And so I have critique for Trump, and I have problems with what he's doing. And if they don't fix this now, if nobody understands where the problem is, and they don't fix this now, it's only going to metastasize and get worse. I'll give you a few examples, and we'll go back and forth. You said it the other day, or maybe you wrote it the other day. We were talking about the fact that Trump went on NBC with Kristen Welker, and we were talking about how disappointed we are that he hasn't been doing the podcast that he was doing prior to the election. It's like they forgot their entire strategy. When we first got into the White House in January 19, it was, we're changing everything around. 10,000 journalists all signed up to become, people. I mean, it was like, wow, this is going to change. I haven't heard another thing from it. And then I think you said to me, worse than what Trump is doing, why is he doing these things? Do you ever remember Biden, Obama, or any of them doing interviews on Newsmax, Fox News, whatever?
Yeah, and here's where I have to even interject too, and this is a challenge I'll have here. We have talked about all last week and in the 47 report how important Wisconsin was going to be.
Yeah.
I'll give you 3 big names: Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Candace Owens. Go to their X account yesterday and see all their tweets and see if they tweeted one time about the Wisconsin race. They'll tweet about this and that and Israel and Qatar and all this stuff, but see if any of them said, hey, Wisconsin, get mobilized, get going. Let's get this race actually won so we don't have this as a headache in the future. They didn't. And these are supposed to be the alternative voices, right? Maybe you guys should be listening to us more often. Just saying, like there was an importance here, and a lot of people, even on the outside, that are propped up as the alternative media, completely dropped the ball, and now this is what we're left with.
Well, wait a second. Let's put a little bit more weight on the scale here. I'm not giving Ben Shapiro or any of those people on the right a pass at all. But if you almost lost your life to run for the presidency, if you almost lost your freedom and everything else for the presidency, and you needed 4 years, all 4 years of having your team on both sides of the aisle, meaning the Senate and the House, wouldn't you make a concerted effort to get yourself to Wisconsin and just tour Wisconsin for 2 days and have some rallies and bring out the attention that needs to be brought out? Because the reason why we lose these, and we've talked about it on the program a lot in the last week or so, the complacency that winds up finding itself within the winning party after the presidential election is what ultimately loses it. So Trump hasn't been in office for 2 years to lose a midterm. You can't sit there and say, hey, you know what? He said he was going to do this, and that, and he didn't do any of it. I'm not showing up. He's only been in there for 73 days. And all the people who went and voted for him so he could win Wisconsin, where were they yesterday? Where were they? Maybe they didn't even know that there was a vote going on because they're back to their lives. They're back to their jobs. They're back to Johnny's in school. He's got a lacrosse game today.
Which is crazy because the amount of money, this has been one of the most expensive races. How is it that all this money is interjected? How is it that this state voted for Trump, but then all of a sudden on a Supreme Court state level, she wins, Susan Crawford? Is there fraud? I mean, at this point, I just don't even trust these elections.
Elon Musk said that this was the future of humanity, right? Something along those lines about how important Wisconsin was. Okay. If it was that important, we just saw Kid Rock plead to the president that I need you to sit down and have an interview with Bill Maher. Can I file that under who gives a shit? Why didn't Kid Rock have a freaking rock concert in Wisconsin, in Madison? Bring Trump up, bring up J.D. Vance, bring up all the stars from all the conservatives. Let's have the biggest thing in the world. Let's use what we have in our arsenal to win Wisconsin. Why didn't we do that? Because if I'm sitting there and I'm Trump, I'm like, hold on, what did you just tell me, my advisors? If we don't win this thing in Wisconsin, we're screwed. So our biggest play was calling up Representative Stefanik and say, do you mind not going to the UN? I remember when Trump pulled people from Congress, when he pulled Waltz. I'm like, why are we pulling people? Do you remember that show? We said, why are we pulling people from Congress to go into the White House? You can't find somebody better, somebody else. We can't lose these people.
And I hate to be negative, but so far, Waltz's biggest accomplishment was creating the first scandal for the Trump presidency.
Yeah.
I mean,
so what did we get from Waltz? We got friggin' Signalgate. This is what I'm saying. It's one thing to get up on the podium and say, we're going to make America great again. But you gotta come through on all facets. You know, this isn't the leader of the PTA. This isn't the leader of the softball team. This isn't even the mayor of a big city. You are running the world. You are expected to be on all cylinders. And, you know, what did we do? Right at the time when we're supposed to have Wisconsin in this very important race, we get on Sunday TV and say, I'm thinking about running for a third term. You want to trigger Democrats to get out and vote? That's what you do. So I don't understand these parts. Now,
And just real quick, even a comment here. Wong did it, not Waltz. Who do you think worked for, who Wong works for? He works for Waltz. You know, why is Wong in a deputy national security after we know his background? You know?
And that kind of statement right there is indicative of how broken the United States is and how thirsty we are for real leadership. I want to remind this person, whoever this person is, because it's probably a person my age or older. Every single president since, I'm going to say, Bush Sr. has got on television and figured out how to blame somebody else. Everybody. Our children have learned the craft of passing the blame. I remember a guy named Ronald Reagan got up and addressed the nation during a thing called, you guys weren't alive yet, Iran-Contra. And President Reagan got into the television screen and said, I knew nothing about what was happening with Iran-Contra, but it happened on my watch, and therefore I take full responsibility. That's what you want to say? That wasn't Waltz's fault, it was Wong? Really? I mean, geez, good
Why is
God.
Wong there?
Why is Wong there? Why is somebody giving something of so much importance over to a freaking helper? It's like if the doctor right now were to ring my phone about my wife and me say, hey, Ryan, I'm on a podcast. Can you take this for me? Come on, man. If you're going to watch this show, step up your game. Step up your game. That's what it is. And if you can't step up your game, go watch Ben Shapiro. Go watch Candace Owens. Go watch one of these other ones. Go listen to somebody else. We're okay with that. Not everybody's with us for us. We get it. We have a very unique opportunity here in the United States, and that is to make America great again. You cannot take what Joe Biden did to this country in 4 years and what Barack Obama did to it in 8 and think that you can solve this by executive order. The amount of shit that is on our plate takes a bulldozer army. Everybody's got to be driving a bulldozer to get rid of it. And we are not executing the way we should be. The Democrats have no leadership and they're kicking our ass. That doesn't say how great the Democrats are. That says how bad the Republicans are.
It's like I said, that the Democrats, unfortunately, do have a message. It's just an awful one. Stop Trump. And I know it's going to happen. I hate that, or not know, but I have a super ugly prediction. We lose in 2026 to the House to Democrats and Hakeem
2028.
2026.
You're right. I'm sorry.
That's how much time we really don't have here.
Yeah.
And then Hakeem Jeffries is the speaker. You can bet those impeachment articles are going to be freshed up, and then that's all it's going to be for 2 years, dealing with impeachment
Thank you, Dennis.
BS.
And here's the problem. The majority of the people out there listening to podcasts and to shows and scrolling through Facebook or even making comments like, oh, it's Wong, right? They're not thinking like that. They're not thinking smart. They're not thinking strategically. They're not thinking logically. That is, you just nailed it, Dennis. What happens? You want to know what happens? In the same way I opened this show and said, I called my guy and said, I want to short the Newsmax stock because I know what I know. And that thing I know is going down huge. I am telling you, I guaranteed that if the Democrats win the midterms, and oh, by the way, what are they going to run on? They're not going to run on, we're going to stop deportations, we're going to stop the war in Ukraine, we're not going to stop it. No, they're going to run on, we're going to impeach Trump. And the day they get in, I don't know who it's going to be. Maybe it's going to be AOC because she wants to be the party leader. She's going to put together articles of impeachment, and they are going to go in, and the Democrats are going to start impeachment process. And I will tell you, the next 2 years will be nothing other than impeachment, 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 impeachment. And because they will do nothing other than highlight, because people will be, well, what they're going to impeach, but what are they going to impeach on? They can impeach on the fact that he wore a red tie instead of a blue one. It doesn't matter. What they're going to do is they're going to use that as a way to get the headlines for every single day, putting out everything fake or real. Is it real or Memorex? It won't matter. They're going to put it out on the headlines. The New York Times, CNN, all of them are going to spray paint it everywhere, including Facebook, everywhere. And the negativity is going to be there. And people are going to say, you know what? Vance is just like Trump. I mean, he's a mini Trump. We can't take this anymore. And then we're going to wind up giving the country over to Gavin Newsom.
Oh, just even the thought.
I mean, this is what's going to happen.
And you don't like hearing it. I don't like saying it, but it's like you could see the forest for the trees. And
it's right there.
As
Why
you said,
can't
the
Trump see
window
this?
of opportunity is just each month as this happens is getting slimmer.
Trump doesn't see it. Wiles doesn't see Susan Wiles does whatever her name is. Wiles doesn't see it. Where's Marco Rubio? Where's JD Vance? Where's anybody saying this? Where is anybody with clout saying this? Where's Hannity? Where's big tough guy Hannity? You know, Hannity, you can't even get that guy anymore to talk about anything serious. If he's not talking about his own karate and how it is he's taking martial arts, he's taking credit for getting Trump into the presidency. Where is it? Where's Tucker Carlson? Where's all these guys? Where are they saying this is what's going to happen? Shit's going to hit the fan if we don't start shaping up. And maybe we are so tied into this because we do the 47 report and we see all that's taking place. You know what's sad about the 47 report? The accomplishments section is getting smaller and the resistance part is getting bigger. Has anybody noticed that, or is it just me?
Of course. And you know, again, it's just, and even the Republican who just won in Florida, Randy Fine. I mean, I have some issues with Matt Gaetz, but at least the man, you know, wanted to hold people's feet to the fire. Randy Fine, I mean, the guy's a schlep. You know, we need to do better with who we have representing us. And there are some really good, strong Republicans out there. But when the major base is tied up in, the proxy voting dilemma, losing sight of what, Americans are actually hoping to have get done, it's ridiculous. Now we got to wait another week for a vote. And I'm sure some other BS provision is going to prevent Republicans from, wanting to fully support it. And we're just going to keep kicking this soccer ball down the field.
Do we have a video of the proxy voting stuff, right?
Yeah.
What is it? Explain what the video
Tim
is.
Burchett trying to explain that he's fighting for the kids of Congress, not America. And then this radical Democrat, Brittany Peterson, using her little baby as a prop to try and push the proxy voting measure.
Go ahead, Ryan, play it.
Hey everybody, Tim Burchett's leaving the House floor. Luna, tell us what we just did.
We just changed the House rules to allow new parents to vote after the birth of a child.
Seems pretty reasonable to me. And that's the sweet little baby right there.
Sam and I are back in DC. This week we are fighting to make sure that our proxy voting resolution for new parents actually makes it to the floor for a vote. Unfortunately, Speaker Johnson is pulling out all the stops, trying to make backroom deals to make sure that members aren't actually able to vote on this. We know that we have overwhelming bipartisan support to get this done. We're not going to stop, so I hope that you'll follow us. We have to make sure that nobody is in the position that I was in with traveling across the country with a 4-week-old to vote just because somebody won't give you the opportunity to have your voice heard remotely. So thanks for following. We'll keep you updated.
Dennis, what was Luna's profession before Congress?
She used to be a stripper.
Oh, maybe her and AOC should go on the road together. You got a stripper and a bartender.
So
all you need now is a front door guy.
We prop up the most false icon sometimes. And you know what? If there's redemption, fine. But what she clearly is doing, and then that Democrat with her child there on the steps. First of all, Congress members are eligible for childcare at the Capitol. And second, kind of like you said, I love when people are starting families, and there's complications with pregnancies all the time, even more so now today than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
But and besides the fact that it would be unconstitutional, even with the idea of proxy voting, the whole point when you're going to Congress is you're putting everything else in your personal life to the side.
Yeah.
And I'll say it, marriage, family, not that they don't come first, but if you're saying, I want to be represented or elected to represent the people of my district, the people of my state, that is now, whether you like it or not, your number one priority. There was a video we didn't play today, but Marjorie Taylor Greene, she could be a little out there, but she said, I'm a mom, but, I'm here. There's plenty of parents who are here. We came into this position because we want to fight for America.
Mm-hmm.
This idea that now we have to make the exceptions, like you said, just starts a slippery slope. And then next thing you know, we're going to have half of Congress from their computers at their, their $1 million condo that they probably got from some foreign lobbies, casting votes.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the point. That's not what our founding fathers or the original, the founders of this country and the Constitution intended, that you could go sit. I mean, there wasn't proxy voting or remote voting back then. You showed up and you voted and you fought for the country. This is just laziness and more excuses. And the fact that this is tied up in other important things and now it's a delay, I'm pissed off. I think everyone should be pissed off. And maybe this is a better example, or this is a more concrete example of when you have someone who's running in your district, do as much background as you can on them and know what they're really going to pull once they're actually elected.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're right. I mean, it's why what you just said is why you got to give Dan Bongino an incredible amount of respect. I mean, the guy had the number 1, number 2, number 3, arguably, depending on what week it was, show on podcast. He is a owner, stockholder of Rumble. Since he's been gone, the stock has dropped. And I think it's because they realize the fact that there's probably not going to be as much advertising sold now that his show is not there. And what did he do? He gave up all that, temporarily so anyway, to go in and try to make a change at the FBI. And that's what the founding fathers wanted. They wanted personalities like that were willing to take their own personal interests, put it to the side, go work for the betterment of the country, and then come back later on and pick up where you left off. Now, you know what's going to happen with Bongino? He's going to do even better when he comes back because everybody's going to want to hear the stories. Everybody's going to want to read the books. So he's going to get the benefit of doing both. God bless him. And, it's funny. We just played that clip, and there's a comment here from a John Moran on Facebook. He says, and this is the kind of BS that Congress is working on instead of the business of the country. And I love when I read things like that from our readers because it says to me, they're getting it. They're listening to it. And, it's funny because we always watch the Facebook numbers here while we're sitting on. And as we started this part of the conversation, people dropped off. And you want to know why they drop off? They drop off because they don't want to hear the negativity. And that's insane. Yesterday when your mother and I were in the doctor's office, we saw a neurologist, a specialist that works on the eyes. And he did the whole testing thing. And I'm not going to get into that now because we don't have enough time. I'll do more about it tomorrow. And I said to the guy, I said, hey, we want exactly what's going on here. And he said, you want me to give it to you straight? And I said to him, we don't want any fluff or bullshit. Now, if that doctor, let's say, for instance, your mother has problem XYZ, and that doctor sits there and says, well, you could have XYZ, but I'm not sure if you really do. The great news is that your blue eyes are beautiful. My God, are your eyes beautiful? I've looked at a lot of eyes today, but I haven't seen anybody who has just as blue eyes as you do. When the light hits it, when I was doing your whole eye exam, my goodness gracious, I'm like, what beautiful blue eyes. That's what Trump supporters want every single day. And it's like, we're going to give it to you. That's why we created the 47 Report at 47report.com for the newsletter, because nobody ever reports on the good stuff. And what they'll do is they'll go, Trump is a racist, Trump is a misogynist, Trump is destroying it, he's a Nazi, he's Hitler. We don't come on here and say that. What we say is, President Trump, there's a train coming. Get out of the way. And people, oh, don't say that. That's such negativity. You want me to just say, hi, President Trump, you look so great. Boom.
If you want fluff, go listen to Charlie Kirk. That's all I'm going to say. If you want just the fluff, then go listen to somebody else. It's not about the fluff. It's about what's actually happening.
It's if you are not going to be able to take constructive criticism, you will never, ever, ever be a champion. And I will tell you this. I mean, this may sound like a little bit of pat on my back, But that's why I told you, I always position, cut to Denny for a second. Right behind Denny, there's a gentleman there in a suit. His name is John Rowland. He was my mentor. And I have it positioned behind Dennis in the way it is. So this way I always see him. You can come back to me, or the both of us. I always see him when I'm talking because he reminds me, and he was, before he died, great friends with Trump. And he reminded me all the time when I was on Fox News, Newsmax, even the podcast, you have to tell the truth. People may not want to hear what it is that you are saying, but they have to know. And look, if that doctor yesterday would have said, sorry, you have XYZ, and XYZ means, well, not good. You need to do this, this, and that. At least I can prepare. At least we can prepare and try to fix. But if the guy gives us fluff, he's giving us a death sentence. So if the people out there right now want me to say, I got to tell you something, man, those 17 gang members that have been deported, do you know that there could have been 17 dead people because of them? Thank God. Thank God. If we had Biden in here, those 17 people would still be running around. If we're going to go on that, fantastic. But we can't go on that. If the country is truly going to get better, we have to have strong leadership. There is a reason why my 4 children do not do drugs. They do not drink and drive. They do not get in trouble. They pay their taxes. They are good out. I mean, when anybody ever comes up to me, the compliment I always get time and again is, my God, you have such a beautiful family. Then he'd be the first one to tell you, I'm sorry, Dennis, but out of the 100 tests that you took in school, the 95 of those tests that you wound up scoring an A, I probably didn't say all that much about them, but the ones that you got an F, you could probably remember every time you came home.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why you scored the 95 percentile all the time, because I focused in on those Fs and said, you can't get these. And that's how you converted them back to an A. If I just sat there and said, oh, Dennis, here's a trophy for second place, you'd always be in second place and not first place. It's called tough love, and this country has forgotten what tough love is about. There's one guy who hasn't forgotten, Dennis. Ron DeSantis. We have a video of Ron DeSantis, do we not?
Yeah.
Lay it out for the good people.
He's just talking about Republicans, specifically in Florida, just dropping the ball, focusing on the wrong things rather than, maybe like the surging property tax bills that a lot of people have been hit with in the state.
Let's play it.
While Republicans in the Florida House are balking at giving you property tax relief, they are focusing on office space and parking spaces in the Florida Capitol. That's right. They actually took away an office here in the Florida Capitol from our U.S. Senator Ashley Moody that had been used by Senator Marco Rubio for 15 years until he became the Secretary of State. Why did they take it away from Ashley Moody? Because she opposed their attempt to impose amnesty legislation on Floridians when I called for a special session in January to help President Trump enforce immigration law and increase deportations. They got caught on that. The voters rejected that. We were able to get strong legislation, and none of this would have happened without that legislation. But how petty is this that they're trying to eject a U.S. senator from an office space that had been used for 15 years by Florida's U.S. senator just because she did the right thing in opposing what they're doing? It is an embarrassment to the state of Florida. It is an embarrassment to the Republican Party to see this type of behavior taking place in the Florida House of Representatives. We need to be doing the people's business and stop the pettiness now.
Yeah,
I think that is just a prime example that even beyond just our House of Representatives for the country here, even in Florida, we got them just schlepping on the wrong kind of issues. Oh. So I just more of my final statement here before I kind of forget it. Mm-hmm. With Trump, I really like Trump, and I think he could do a lot in these 4 years. And I have to remind myself, the man has been through 2 assassination attempts. Yep. I still remember the day me, you, and Ryan were in the pool last June when Judge Merchant basically almost was giving the "you're going to be behind bars" sentence. Yep. And we were saying, like, how is this happening? This is a president. This is a man that fought for us. He's on the older side, and he's only got so much time on the clock. So the truth is, he's going to do his best that he can now. But then we got to look to the future. And I know J.D. Vance is, chronically online is the best way to put it. And I'm sure he's got to see that a lot of people are not happy with the way these Republicans are acting. So if he has any chance with 2028, he really needs to maybe reassess, maybe have one of those big retreats in Miami again with the representatives and Speaker Johnson, and say, look, we need to really get our act together. We got to unite the way Democrats unite in their anti-Trump rhetoric, because if we're not, it's going to end up just being the bust.
Yeah, see, you're never going to get that out of J.D. Vance, because J.D. Vance feels as if he has to toe the line. He can't go too far, because if he goes too far, Trump's going to want to reel him in. He is in, honestly, this is why the VP spot sucks. It's why DeSantis would have never said yes if he was asked, because it's going to be guilty by association for Vance. Vance needs Trump to do remarkably well. Now, I'm going to go off what you just said here. Trump is older. You got to remember, he's going to be 80 in a couple of years. He's slowing down, even though he's still sharp as a 50-year-old. But he can only do so much on his own. He needs to have people around him, and those people can't be yes men. And that's what I see right now. Every time somebody goes on television, it's about how great Trump is. Like, they got to keep on reminding everybody that they're in Camp MAGA, but nobody's doing anything to push it forward. And so all we're going to get is a lot of champions, like, pom-poms. And yet when we look up on the scoreboard, we're like, why are we cheering when we're down 47 freaking points in the fourth quarter? And that's what we're trying to scream about. You got a guy like Ron DeSantis right now pushing against his own party. And there are going to be people who are pissed off about that. But you want to know why he's doing that as well? Because there are people in the Republican Party in Florida that do not want his wife to win the governorship. They don't want it. And so they know that if DeSantis winds up giving us a basic pass that we don't have to pay property tax anymore, everybody's going to give him the credit and she's going to get elected. And that's what this is all about. It's not about what's best for the people of Florida. It's about what's best for the Republican Party. They don't want it to be where the DeSantises are the king and queen of the prom for 16 years. They want to have new blood in there. They want to have somebody new in there. And that's why they're doing it. So we're going to pay the price as people. And that's where this is all broken. And that's why somebody like DeSantis, I always say he's the best governor I've ever seen, because he doesn't just go with the flow. He's going to give it as it needs to be given. Now, that said, I wish I was in front of Trump, because let me tell you what I wouldn't do. Here's the thing. We're in front of Trump. No joke. I say, President Trump, this is my son, Dennis. It's my son, Ryan. We're very honored to be here today. We appreciate it. We'd love to just sit down and talk to you. Boom. First question. Why do we not have a single legislative win? Why were you not in Wisconsin making it so that we can win? We should have done something, sir. You lose in the midterms, you're going to be impeached. Is that what you want? Who around you here is advising you? Because I'd love to hear what they have to say. Because the rest of us are sitting back and we're like, okay, day 73, good executive orders, whatever it may be, but the executive orders aren't going through it anymore because they're getting stopped by the courts. What are we doing? I don't want to hear, I'm going to curse because I'm getting pissed off. I don't want to hear about fucking Greenland one more time. I don't give a shit about Greenland. It's meaningless. It's as what my father used to say, tits on a bull. It's useless. Why are we talking about Greenland and Canada being the 51st state? We got 50 states, 49 states that are in the shitter. Can we worry about that?
Say, why are we meeting with Bill Maher?
Bill Maher.
Like, because even he commented about it. He's like, I think he was doing the meeting because he wants to repair the divisiveness. I don't think it's going to work. The man himself is saying it. He's going to go.
Bill Maher
sucks.
Bill Maher is a fucking loser. Do you hear that? He sits on there. He has a podcast. He smokes weed. He's drinking alcohol, the whole 9 yards. He's a fucking loser. He's the only one who could put together a sentence in the Democrat Party. That's why he's got a show on HBO. You take that away, he's a nobody. He's a nothing. He's a little tiny runt, 4'2". He's got a Napoleon complex. Come on over. Have him sit down with me. I'll run him circles. Look, at the end of the day,
And really quick, and Tom's saying everyone was all for Trump now, but what I'm hearing is you're turning on him. The attitude.
oh,
has
Tom's
changed.
Tom's an asshole.
We're not turning on Trump.
Tom's
Once
this is
have
what
we
I'm talking
said
about.
anything?
Tom is the poison. Do you understand? The poison in the country is right there. That's represented. Turn on. What did I say? Did I say vote for Bernie? What we're talking about is it's the equivalent of going to the doctor. And the doctor says to you, Tom, if you don't stop smoking, you are going to have lung cancer. And Tom's the kind of guy who says, you've been my doctor for 5 years. You're turning on me. What an idiot.
And I just, I've mentioned it to you. I've been watching the Apprentice reruns. And it's just so ironic how you're bringing this up. One of the, during his episodes, he likes to do little business advice segments. Yeah. And he said one of the things that he absolutely loves and appreciates is loyalty. Someone that, is loyal to the organization, to him, but that he can't stand kiss asses. So when you got a man who is not dealing with 1 or 2 or 10 people in his administration, but a whole conglomerate, and then people that they're hiring, you have to hope that they're going to be loyal and that they're not just kiss-assing, because sometimes kiss-assing is actually disloyal because you're just trying to lead them down a wrong path. It's a lot to manage.
I'm so happy you just said that. I can't give the names. I can't even give the vertical to where this goes because I have too many people who watch the show. And I have too many people who I don't know if they watch this show. I think they do because they bring up things to me. But recently, let's just say I have 2 different people who deal with me with something. And of the 2, I got person A, who is usually the communicator back and forth. And no matter what I say to A always gives me what I want. Always gives me what I want. And when A doesn't agree with me, that person tiptoes. Well, that person was out, and I had to deal with B. And I've always had the sense that B was sharper than A. And when I was given B, person B, my 2 cents, B pushed back constantly. And when it pushed back, it wasn't pushed back with you're being dumb, you're being this, you're being that. B pushed back with good reason why. And you know what I said to B? I said, look, I really like person A, but I'd like you to be my lead from now on. And he said, why? I said, because you don't kiss my ass. You make me think. You make me perform better. I'm going to make better with you than I will with A. I like A. Great person. But you are going to bring me to my next level. It's just like anybody here listening that plays golf. You got a choice. You got your best friend who's a shitty golfer, or you got some guy who's a great golfer. Who do you want to spend the day with? If the focus is having a lot of fun, you want to be with your buddy. But if the focus is you want to be a better golfer, you don't want to golf with your buddy. You want to golf with somebody who's above you because you're going to learn and you're going to better your game. So if Donald J. Trump wants to be on Mount Rushmore, if he wants to be better than George Washington, if he truly wants to make America great again, you can't have all yes men. You've got to have the doctor that's willing to tell you that you need to quit smoking because right now, not only you choking on your smoke, but secondhand smoke as well. And I'm not going to change that. I've not changed that in 20 years. I ain't going to change it in 21 for a dude like Tom. So that's just the way it goes. That's the way it flows. We had an MS-13 video here. We'll pass it off until tomorrow because we're running late. Thank you for those of you who are willing to hear the truth. For those of you who went off and went to somebody who wants to give you greener pastures, God bless you. We still love you too. With that said, don't forget BOGO, site-wide BOGO is now for DML CBD. For those of you who like aches and pains, for those of you who don't want to sleep, for those of you who want to have bad skin and you want to have a weak immune system, don't go. Don't go. Stay broken. But for the rest of you who would like to improve your skin issues, who would like to improve your sleep, for those who want to boost the immune system, get rid of that anxiety, especially after watching this show, and then, like I said, get more sleep and have all the different things in your life start to improve. I mean, my wife, Mary, as one of them, right? She's so bad right now, and sleep is key. And I have been giving her double the dose of DML CBD Power Plus, sleeping through the night. So to that extent, hopefully she gets better soon. But dmlcbd.com/BOGO, BOGO, buy one, get one free. Started on April 1, ends on April 10. You want to get in there. We're not going to have another BOGO for a long time because we are changing our facilities. So make sure you get in there, dmlcbd.com/BOGO. In terms of my wife, I'll get into that more tomorrow. In fact, I want to talk to her about maybe allowing me to play a video so this way people can see what actually was going on and see whether or not there's anybody out there who has really dealt with a similar thing. I doubt you have, because the doctors, to many different ways, are baffled. So, with that said, we pray for her. We thank for your prayers that come in on her. On behalf of Ryan, who can't speak for himself because he's back there doing all the things with the controls, may you and your family have a blessed day, and may God bless the President, the Vice President, and these United States.
And today's Team DML blessing goes out to Kim Denhoff.
All right, Kim, sounds good. Talk to you soon.
Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and Team DML.